natanggal ko na.
Have you ever tried to improve a recipe? Perhaps you want to make a chili that's even better than your grandmother's. If so, you have used a not so formal form of the scientific method, which has 5 steps. Observe, I bet this recipe could be better. Question, I wonder what ingredients would help. Form a hypothesis. More family members will prefer this recipe with 1 tablespoon chili powder than without chili powder. More is defined as over 50%. Test hypothesis. Make both recipes exactly the same except for the addition of chili powder and do a taste test. Analyze results. Was the hypothesis confirmed? The scientific method is a very formal procedure scientists, including psychologists, use to evaluate their predictions or hypotheses. The hypothesis is based on observations and other research. Testing the hypothesis requires variables or factors that change. The independent variable is changed or manipulated by the experimenter. The dependent variable changes because of the change in the independent variable. The experimenter also has to define the terms using an operational definition, that is, define terms in a way that can be measured. If you do not define what tastes better means, you will not know if your hypothesis about adding chili powder was confirmed. Once these important details are defined, the experimenter can test the hypothesis by manipulating a variable. What did the results show? Was the hypothesis confirmed? Even when the hypothesis is confirmed, more questions result, and the procedure may be repeated. Psychologists use the scientific method to research human behavior. Psychological research involves systematic, organized scientific research. Observations lead to questions. Psychologists come up with a question that leads to a hypothesis. For example, are married people happier than single people? Of course, that is just a general question, and a hypothesis must be a more specific prediction. The hypothesis might be, married men are happier than single men. But what is happiness? How will the psychologists know if the hypothesis was confirmed? They must have an operational definition, meaning a definition based on some measurable value. In the above example, the operational definition might be, married men score higher on the XYZ happiness scale than single men. After forming a hypothesis, psychologists are ready to test the hypothesis. To do this, they design an experiment. In our example, psychologists might give the XYZ happiness scale to 2 groups of men. One group would be married and the other group would be single. Which group has the higher happiness score, the married group or the single group? Next, psychologists would analyze the results and use statistics to determine which group had a higher happiness score. Do the results indicate that married men scored higher on the XYZ scale? If so, the hypothesis is confirmed. If not, it is not confirmed. Whether the hypothesis is confirmed or not, studies like these lead to more questions, which can result in repeating the process to answer a different question. As the last step in the process, psychologists analyze the results. Writing down the process and results is an important part of research, so others can review and evaluate the research. All the information is important, so other scientists can replicate or repeat the research. Psychologists sometimes publish their results in psychological journals. Before publishing, articles are peer-reviewed, which means other experts in the field review the research before it is released to the public. Replicating experiments is an important part of scientific method. Experimental results that show up consistently across experiments by multiple researchers demonstrate evidence of an underlying construct. The scientific method is a formal procedure scientists use to evaluate hypotheses. A hypothesis is a statement based on observations and other research that must include an operational definition or a way to define terms so they can be measured. The scientist tests the hypothesis by creating an experiment that includes variables or factors that change. There are 2 types of variables, the independent variable, which can be manipulated by the experimenter, and the dependent variable, which changes according to how the independent variable is changed. If the results match the hypothesis is confirmed. If they don't, the hypothesis is not confirmed. Either way, the test may raise questions to form new hypotheses to be tested. After the test is completed, scientists analyze their results and write down the results and the process used to achieve them so other scientists can replicate or repeat their experiments to confirm the outcome. Scientists may submit their articles for peer review by other experts in their field before publication to ensure they performed their experiments correctly and can be replicated by others.